Alright, so now we're gonna make a spear. Here's what you're gonna need: a piece of crowbar, a piece of iron pipe. We'll talk about this. Iron pipe. Got it right here. I used a piece of galvanized, or I'm using a piece of galvanized, and I forged it out to flare it out. If you're gonna do that, use black iron pipe. I was being stupid and forged on this, and there was all kinds of smoke and stuff going out of it. You don't want to forge galvanized pipe. That's a really bad idea. I'm lucky that I didn't get poisoned or anything. Also, instead of using a crowbar, I'm using a piece of angle iron that I forged straight. It's a huge old piece of angle iron. Save yourself the trouble. Get a freaking crowbar. Cut a section off of it. You're going to want about just enough to get a good spear length, and about 3 or 4 inches or so to go into the pipe. Get the crowbar, then determine what size pipe you need, and determine if you need to grind down the crowbar or whatever. You'll learn how to grind the tip from my last video, my useful tools video. It's the same principle, same style. Not going to show it because it's going to take too much time. You're going to need a piece of threaded rod, which I've got somewhere on this table. You're going to need a drill press. You could probably manage with a hand drill, but I don't suggest it. I really don't suggest it. You're going to need a tap, which is what this is, for cutting threads into a hole. You're going to need a drill bit. They'll sell the sets. Just get a set for whatever size you want to use, and use that. This is 5/16. This tap is for 5/16 threads. That's a 1/4 drill bit. They came together, they work. You're going to need a grinder, obviously, to grind the tip. You're going to need a heat source, like a forge, because, my forge I have over there, because before you drill it into the piece of crowbar or whatever, you're going to want to heat one end of it up so you can anneal it, so you can drill through it. Depending on how you do it, depending on how hot it gets and how controlled the heat is, you might have to heat treat it. So, general knowledge of heat treating is something else you might need. You'll also probably need some super glue. Or I'm going to use super glue, you don't have to. Alright, I'm going to get set up for the next bit. And then I'm going to shut up unless I need to talk and say something. Alright, I've got it set up in the milling machine vise. Yes, I'm using a milling machine because I blew up the start capacitor on my drill press, or my dad's drill press anyway, long ago. It's level. I checked it with a level. It doesn't have to be. But yeah, and frankly, if you're using a drill press and you have it flat on there, which if you're having it, see I've got it clamped in this vise, you want this clamped down, because if it catches and starts spinning, you're going to take a pipe or piece of metal to the head, and you probably don't want that. I'm going to take the center punch and I'm going to mark a couple of holes where I want the threaded rod to be. Now I've already marked out where this starts and where this stops, or about where this ends on this pipe with a Sharpie. So yeah, and I've already made a line to make sure that it's where I want it to be. I've already done that. I'm gonna make sure it's in the center, and I'm gonna do 2. If you want to do more, you can do more. You don't need to use a center punch. You don't need to use a level. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm being good about it. I'm going to grind the tip after I drill the holes. Also, this is where I'm going to use super glue to super glue this in to make sure it doesn't move when I'm drilling it. It's a pretty snug fit, but I want to be sure. Alright, now I'll put the super glue on. Now after it's gone, you're probably going to want a torch so you can heat it up, so you can break the heat there, or break the bond, because super glue melts with heat, basically. So yeah, or acetone or solvent or whatever. I didn't put it along it, I just put it down near the seam of where the spearhead, the would-be spearhead meets the pipe. And so where I put it, I'm going to break it with a torch later because I'm going to heat treat this. Because this is all annealed, which means it's soft and not hard as a knife. Or hard as a diamond, which is, I don't think steel can get that hard. But regardless, back what I'm drilling. Oh, quick reminder. Safety glasses. You need them. And when you're grinding, dust mask. You need it. Gloves won't hurt either. And when you're drilling, cutting oil. Lots of cutting oil. Two things. Placeholder bolt in the first hole to keep it where it is, or make sure there's no movement. Okay, actually three things. I changed to a bit that has some flats cut on the shank where it's supposed to go into the drill because the other one kept slipping. And thing number three, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your hacksaw blades are sharp or have teeth. So I only have about 1.5 inches of teeth down here at the bottom. Had to go find my little hacksaw. Alright, real quick, this is the most time-consuming thing about this, is the tapping of this. And if your tap's not too long, you have to turn it around, you have to go as far as you can, turn around, and go from the other side. Use plenty of cutting oil, and if you don't know how to properly do this, look it up on YouTube. After you finish tapping your first hole, take a somewhat bigger drill bit. This is 1/2 inch. I just grabbed the biggest one I had in my thing. And do a couple turns or so on the top and bottom of the hole, countersink it just a little bit. Don't worry right now, you can go back and countersink it more later or whatever. But after you finish tapping that second hole, put the first put the first length of threaded rod or bolt or whatever through the hole. Granted, I want to point this out, you don't have to thread those holes. You can just pin it in. I wanted to thread them. So that's how I did it. Alright, this is the end of the part 1 of this. There's a nice little beauty shot of the second little pointy tool I made.